Welcome back to the Nerdy Grail. So, a little while ago, I did a video talking about my top 10 most anticipated movies coming out in 2025. And I did mention one film in particular that was coming out very soon that I was probably going to see in the cinema. And last night, me and my fiance, on January 17th, 2025, we went to the cinema to see The Wolfman 2025, directed by Leigh Whannell. Now, this is not the first version of The Wolfman. There's been a few different interpretations of The Wolfman that's come out over the years. This is like a remake or the latest in the line based on a 1941 movie titled The Wolfman, but there was also a 2010 version of Wolfman as well. So this is just like the next version along. And so in this video, I'm just going to give you my brief breakdown of the movie. I did quite enjoy it. It's another one of Blumhouse's Productions movies, which they're doing quite a lot of really good films lately. Like, obviously, in my video that I talked about my favourite movies of 2024, Speak No Evil came in at number 3, which was really, really good. And one of the trailers before The Wolfman, I think it's called The Woman in the Yard, which is going to be one of their next movies, looks also really, really intriguing. So they seem to get the tension right in these movies. And The Wolfman is no different. But what I also like about this film, The Wolfman, is that there's quite a small cast. For the whole movie, more or less, you just got 3 characters, really. Just 3 core characters for most of the movie. There is 1 or 2 other cast members in this as well, but most of it, you're just looking at your 3 main characters, which are a small little family. So, first, let's quickly go over briefly the plot. So the movie starts in a little bit of like a flashback between our core character Blake as a child and his father, who are out hunting. We don't really know what they're hunting, whether it's just regular animals out in the woods, but there is a secret going on. The father seems quite strict with Blake, wants to protect him at all costs. Blake wanders off at one point and notices a strange person amongst the trees, which we find out is a wolf man. And his dad comes over and protects him. They hide up in one of these. It's almost like a little tree house or like this protective bunker for them to overlook the forest ground in safety. And they hear it start to come up towards them, but then it hears like a deer or a bear or something and chases after it instead. And then you flash forward 30 years, and we've got Blake now with his daughter Ginger, played by Matilda Firth. Blake is played by Christopher Abbott, and his wife Charlotte, who's played by Julie Gardner. They are a family who are really well connected, but also at the same time, there's something not quite right. They're going through a bit of a rough patch. Charlotte's a journalist. Blake, I believe he said he's a writer. And then they got their daughter Ginger, who's a real daddy's girl in this film, which, if anyone has seen the film Clown, I get really strong vibes of this, because Blake is a lovely father who cares deeply about his family, especially with his daughter. But what happens is he gets a letter through to say that his dad is supposedly deceased, and has to go to their old farm that we saw in the flashback to move some of his things. So he decides to take his family along in order to reconnect with them. Along the way, though, they get a bit lost. They ask for help from somebody who takes them down a path towards the house. Blake gets knocked off the road by the Wolfman, who distracts them, and they crash. The Wolfman then attacks, kills the guy who was helping lead them to the house, and accidentally scratches Blake. They do manage to get away. They get into the house, but then as the film progresses, Blake starts to go through this strange transformation into another Wolfman. And that is pretty much how the premise goes, because he then transforms into the Wolfman, and then he becomes the villain who then his wife and daughter have to escape from. And spoilers, but Blake does end up getting killed at the end of this movie, which is to be expected, if I'm honest. I didn't expect him to transform back, especially since they set up that this version of the Wolfman doesn't transform back during the day. It is just wolf constantly. But yeah, that is the basic plot of the movie, and it is done quite well. The pacing is quite quick, which is both a positive and a negative in some aspect. But I'll talk about some of the positives first that I liked about this. I like that it's a small cast, meaning you got to get to know each character individually. You got to know how Blake really cares for his daughter. You get to know how his relationship's like with his wife, that it's a bit rocky, but he wants to make it work. You get to see that Charlotte, his wife, is really busy with work, wants to pursue a career, but also wants to try and be a good mum and feels like she's not doing a good enough job. So this movie allows her to do that and protect her daughter from her husband, who's supposed to be the one to protect her. And then you've got the daughter Ginger, who Matilda Firth does a really good job as the daughter. She does this thing all the way through the movie where she touches the dad's forehead to see, can you read my mind, that sort of thing. You know, what am I thinking? Which is it's a good, interesting way to see her connecting to her dad and to show that bond and relationship, which is really, really good. But it does get a little bit annoying after a while, especially when they constantly do it, like almost every 5 minutes. It happens a lot in this movie. Even when he's the Wolfman, she does it. So it is quite interesting. But yeah, they are a good bunch of characters. I will also say it is very tense all the way through, which Blumhouse seem to be really good at doing lately, is having that tension all the way through. You feel on edge, especially when they get to the house and they're under attack by the previous Wolfman, and then they're under attack from the inside with Blake slowly transforming. The transformation is amazing at times. They do this thing in the movie where they'll go from Blake's perspective as he's transforming to what we're seeing, so the normal perspective, because his sound gets affected. He starts being unable to speak, to understand his family, and he starts doing really weird things as well. He's got the scratch where the infection started. He ends up taking a bite out of it and scratching it, and it's quite gory and disgusting at times, but you can see how it's affecting his mind. But yet he still wants to protect his family. He doesn't fully lose it until right at the end, which is very emotional at the end. But yeah, I must admit it was really, really interesting, and the way they did the characters was done really, really well, and the setting as well. It's all set in this creepy forest on this little farm, so you've got this very claustrophobic feel, and it is dark through the whole film, and I quite like that. What I will say though is one of the negatives for me is the transformation of Blake seemed a little bit too quick, but we did get to see a lot of him, about half an hour or so of him as the nice dad, but his transformation as a Wolfman did seem very, very quick. Like, he noticed things very quick. He had his teeth falling out, and then almost immediately then he was losing his sound and speech. I would like to have got to see him have a couple more scenes where he was really concerned about what's going on and he voiced that to his wife. So you could build that tension more, but it just went way too quick. And then as soon as he starts losing his sound and speech, he's straight away like attacking things and biting his arm, and yeah, it just went a bit too fast for me personally. Um, but yeah, it was really, really good. I must admit, I did enjoy this movie, but I did compare it to Clown, because in Clown you've got a really kind dad who cares a lot about his family, who does something in order to make his family happy, um, but then accidentally gets into trouble and starts transforming into a creature who then attacks their family and unfortunately dies in the end. And that's exactly what happens here. And they literally do it bit for bit. You know, during the transformation, it's also grotesque. In the end of Clown, he attacks his family, but then briefly comes back into control and asks them, please, can you help me? And please, can you stop this from happening? And that's exactly what happens in The Wolfman. For a brief moment, because when the wife and the daughter are running away from the farm at the end after Blake's fully lost it and fully transformed, they go back to that little safety tree hut. I can't remember what they called it now. In the middle of the woods, and the wife Charlotte's got a gun, and Blake is climbing up to the top like the original Wolfman did, but this time he peers over the top and sort of stops when he sees Ginger, his daughter, and almost like comes back briefly, and or even though he can't speak it, Ginger can tell that he wants Charlotte to just end it. He doesn't want to continue like this, and he doesn't want to cause his daughter any harm, and so that's what happens. Because there's this beautiful scene halfway through the film, just as Blake is starting to transform, where he looks at his daughter in the eye, who and says, "I don't want to be the one to cause you any trauma or harm. I'm going to help to protect you. It's my job to protect you." And I think that's what this film does really well. Is it really makes you feel for this family. You know, yes, the dad is supposed to be there to protect them, but now he's potentially the cause of them getting hurt, and I think that's really, really interesting. So they do that really, really well in this movie. So I thought it was really, really good. I would definitely recommend it. Is it the best film of all time? No. Is it a fun movie? Yes. It's going to be a movie that I think people are going to be very mixed about. Some people are going to really like it, some people are going to really hate it, and some people are going to be a bit indifferent to it. For me, I quite liked it, and I've liked what Blumhouse have done recently, and I'm looking forward to their next project as well, and I know my fiance is as well. So I look forward to seeing what they've got in the future. But for me, The Wolfman is a pretty decent film, and I think you should check it out, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'll probably even check out some of the older versions, because this is actually the first version of The Wolfman, or sorry, this is called Wolfman, that I've actually seen. So I think it is quite interesting. But this is just going to be my short little review on Wolfman 2025. So I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up. Comment down below, did you go to see Wolfman, and what did you think of it? And subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is the Nerdy Grail signing off. I hope you've had an amazing day, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now, everyone.